What would you do if I told you the exact moment your marriage ended? Not the divorce papers, not the moving truck, not even the final fight, but the precise second, the specific sentence where everything you built over 7 years collapsed into nothing. Would you want to know? Because I know mine. December 20th, 6:47 p.m. 11 words at my in-laws' Christmas dinner. I can tell you what everyone was wearing, what we ate, the exact expression on Thomas's face when those words left my mouth and I watched 7 years of love die in real time. Here's what terrifies me. I didn't know it was happening. I thought I was being honest, insightful, brave even. I thought I was the enlightened one in the room. The one willing to speak uncomfortable truths while everyone else played pretend. I was wrong about everything. Now Thomas is remarried, lives 4 miles away with his pediatric nurse wife and their baby on the way. Coaches Little League like he always dreamed, has Sunday dinners with his family, the family I destroyed us over. And I'm alone in our old apartment with a coffee mug I can't throw away, watching his happiness from behind a phone screen, finally understanding exactly what I did. So let me ask you again, do you want to know the exact moment your relationship might be ending? Because you might be living it right now. You might be saying things you think are helpful, perceptive, honest, things that feel like love but land like weapons. Let me tell you what happened. Not so you feel sorry for me. I don't deserve that. But so you recognize the warning signs I missed, before it's too late. Before you say 11 words you can never take back. Click subscribe right now, because the stories I'm sharing could save your relationship or help you understand why your last one ended. I met Thomas in September, 7.5 years before the dinner that ended everything. He was substitute teaching at the elementary school where my friend Rachel worked. She texted me a photo of him reading to a group of kindergartners, cross-legged on the floor, doing different voices for each character in Where the Wild Things Are. The kids were mesmerized. So was I. Our first date, he brought me a book, not flowers. A used copy of The Little Prince because I'd mentioned loving it as a child. He'd written a note on the inside cover for someone who still sees with her heart. I kept that book on my nightstand for 6 years. I don't know where it is now. Every morning for the first 5 years of our marriage, he'd wake up 20 minutes before me to make my coffee exactly right. 2 sugars, splash of cream, heated mug. He'd leave it on my nightstand with a Post-it note. Sometimes the note said, "I love you." Sometimes they were terrible puns. Sometimes they were little drawings of us as stick figures. I kept a box of those notes in my desk drawer, had hundreds of them. When he moved out, I couldn't look at them anymore. I threw them away during a wine-drunk cleaning frenzy at 2 in the morning. I regret that more than almost anything. When my father died 4 years into our marriage, Thomas took 2 weeks off work unpaid. We couldn't afford it. We had exactly $800 in savings and rent due in 10 days. He didn't care. He sat with me every day, didn't try to fix it, didn't tell me to be strong. Just sat there, holding my hand, letting me cry, bringing me water when I forgot to drink. One afternoon, when I finally stopped crying long enough to notice I was hungry, he made me French toast, my dad's specialty. He'd called my mom to get the exact recipe, the way my dad made it with vanilla and cinnamon. I ate 3 pieces, first solid food in days. He just smiled and said, "Your dad would want you to eat." That's who Thomas was. The kind of man who memorized your dead father's French toast recipe because he knew it would comfort you. I should have protected that man. Instead, I spent 3 years trying to fix him. It started small. So small I convinced myself it wasn't even criticism. We were at his parents' house for Sunday dinner, something they did every week. His mom, Patricia, his dad, Leonard, his younger brother, Jake. They were loud. They talked over each other. They argued about everything from politics to whether the potatoes needed more salt. But they laughed. God, they laughed so much. Thomas was smiling the whole time. Relaxed in a way I rarely saw him. He worked so hard during the week, dealing with 28 second graders and their various needs. Stayed late for parent conferences. Spent his own money on classroom supplies. Sunday dinners were his reset button. On the drive home, I said, "Your family is interesting." He looked over at me, still smiling. Interesting good or interesting bad? Just interesting, they're very intense. "They're passionate," he said, "about everything. It's how we were raised. Must have been chaotic growing up." His smile dimmed slightly. It was great growing up. Always something happening, never boring. I didn't push it that time, but I'd planted a seed. In my mind, not his. I'd started analyzing his family like they were a case study. Around year 5, he stopped initiating sex as often. I noticed but didn't think it meant what it meant. He started coming to bed after me, saying he needed to finish grading papers. Started volunteering for more weekend activities at school. Science fair judge, field trip chaperone, things that took him away from home. My friend Stephanie and I had been close for 3 years. She'd been married for 12 years, had it all figured out, or so I thought. She was a therapist, which I think made me trust her insights more than I should have. We'd meet for coffee every Tuesday, and I'd tell her about Thomas, about his family, about the things that bothered me. Thomas got upset because I suggested his mother is passive-aggressive, I told her one Tuesday, stirring my latte. She makes these little comments about how I'm too thin, how I should eat more, how her lasagna is better than anything I make. It's exhausting. Stephanie leaned forward. Have you considered that his inability to see his family's dysfunction is actually a trauma response? He's protecting himself from acknowledging how damaging that environment was. She said it with such confidence, such certainty, like she diagnosed him from my secondhand stories, and I believed her because she seemed so sure. And because it gave me permission to keep noticing, keep commenting, keep pushing. The first real incident happened at Jake's graduation dinner about 18 months before the Christmas that ended everything. We were at a nice restaurant. His whole family was there, plus Jake's girlfriend Emma. Everyone was celebrating. Jake had graduated college, first in his family to do so. Leonard kept tearing up, so proud he could barely speak. Patricia ordered champagne for everyone. The waiter brought the bottle. Leonard stood up to make a toast. He started talking about Jake's hard work, his determination. Then he told this story about Jake at 6 years old, announcing he wanted to be a scientist, how they'd encouraged him even though neither of them had gone to college. How they'd helped him with homework every night, stayed up late studying with him, celebrated every small victory. It was sweet. Everyone was smiling. Even Jake, who usually hated attention, looked touched. Then Leonard said, and to Thomas, who tutored Jake through algebra, spent every Saturday for 2 months making sure his little brother passed. That's what family does. Everyone raised their glasses. Thomas looked embarrassed but pleased. He'd never told me about tutoring Jake. That was typical. He did kind things and never mentioned them. I leaned over to Thomas and whispered, but not quietly enough, "Your dad's had 3 glasses of wine. He's getting sentimental." I smiled like it was affectionate observation. Like I was just noticing something amusing. Thomas's jaw tightened. He whispered back, "He's happy. Let him be happy." Patricia looked at me, just looked. Her face didn't change, but I saw something shift in her eyes, something I'd interpret later as the moment she started protecting her son from me. After dinner in the car, Thomas was quiet. Too quiet. Finally, he said, "Why did you say that about my dad?" "Say what? I just said he was getting sentimental." He was. He was making a toast at his son's graduation. He's allowed to be emotional. I didn't say he wasn't allowed. I just noticed he'd been drinking. You diminished the moment. His hands were tight on the steering wheel. He was trying to express how proud he is, and you made it about alcohol. That's not what I meant. I felt defensive, misunderstood. I was just observing. He looked at me at a red light. Maybe observe less, feel more. I didn't answer. I was angry. How dare he tell me how to behave? I just spent 3 hours at his family dinner, smiling and nodding. And this was the thanks I got. We didn't speak for 2 days after that. He slept on the couch, said he needed space to think. When he finally came back to bed, he tried one more time. He said, "Deb, I need you to understand something. My family isn't perfect. No family is, but they're good people who love each other." When you make comments like that, it feels like you're looking down on them, on me. I said, "I'm not looking down on anyone. I'm just being honest about what I see. Would you prefer I lie?" "I'd prefer you give them grace." "I give them plenty of grace. I show up every Sunday. I smile. I help with dishes. What more do you want?" He stared at me for a long moment. "I want you to like them. I want you to see what I see. But mostly, I want you to stop making me feel like I have to apologize for where I came from. I've never asked you to apologize." He didn't respond, just turned over and went to sleep. The next morning, there was no coffee on my nightstand, no post-it note. He'd already left for work. That was 11 months before the dinner. But I didn't stop. What came next was worse. 6 months before the Christmas dinner, Thomas's school had a family night. Students brought their parents to showcase their work. Thomas had spent weeks preparing. His second graders had done a project on community helpers, made posters, wrote essays, created presentations. He was so excited. Kept telling me about Elijah's essay on firefighters, Madison's poster on nurses, David's presentation on teachers. His parents came. His brother came. I came. The classroom was decorated with the kids' work. Thomas was beaming, walking around introducing his family to students and their parents. He looked so proud, so happy. Patricia hugged him when we arrived. "Look at all this. Thomas, this is wonderful." Leonard shook his hand, pulling him into a hug. "Son, you've done something special here." The kids swarmed Thomas. Mr. Carlisle, show your mom my poster." "Mr. Carlisle, tell your family about my essay." He was glowing, absolutely glowing. This was his dream job. These were his kids, his people. We spent an hour looking at everything. Thomas patiently explained each project, praised each child. When we got to Elijah's work, the student he'd mentioned most often, Thomas crouched down to the boy's level. "Tell my family about your firefighter essay, buddy." Elijah, 7 years old with missing front teeth, read his entire essay with Thomas's hand on his shoulder, encouraging him. Patricia teared up. Leonard clapped. Even Jake looked impressed. Afterward, we went to dinner at a nearby restaurant, Italian place, casual. Everyone was talking about how great the event was, how talented the kids were, how clearly they loved Thomas. Patricia kept saying, "You can tell how much time he spends with them, how much he cares. That's not just teaching. That's calling." Leonard nodded. "Proudest I've ever been, my son, making a real difference." The praise kept coming. Thomas was embarrassed but happy. The happiest I'd seen him in months. He reached over and squeezed my hand, wanted me to share this moment, this validation. And then Jake's girlfriend Emma, sweet Emma, who barely knew us, said, "It must have been amazing growing up with parents who supported your dreams like this." Thomas nodded. "Best gift they ever gave me. Always told me I could do anything if I worked hard enough." Patricia smiled. "We just wanted you boys to be happy, to find something you loved." And I heard myself say, "That's lovely." Though sometimes unconditional support can prevent people from developing realistic self-assessment. I said it casually, like I was contributing to the conversation, like I was offering an interesting perspective. The table went quiet, not long, maybe 3 seconds, but long enough. Emma looked confused. Jake looked at his plate. Leonard's smile faded. Patricia's eyes went hard. Thomas's hand, which had been holding mine, went rigid, then withdrew. He turned to me slowly. "What did you just say?" "I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that sometimes parents who only praise can inadvertently prevent their children from developing critical thinking about their own limitations." "You think my parents prevented me from critical thinking?" "I didn't say prevented. I said it can sometimes. In front of them." "You said this in front of them, at a celebration." Patricia stood up. "I need to use the restroom." She left. Patricia, who never left the table during dinner, who prided herself on her hostessing, walked away. Leonard said quietly, "I think we should get the check." The dinner ended, painfully, awkwardly, everyone hugging goodbye in the parking lot, but stiffer. Colder. When Patricia hugged Thomas, she held him longer than usual, whispered something in his ear I couldn't hear. He nodded. In the car, Thomas didn't start the engine, just sat there, gripping the steering wheel. "Tom, don't." His voice was flat. "Don't say my name right now." "I didn't mean, you humiliated me. You humiliated them at a celebration again." "I was making a psychological observation." He laughed, actually laughed, but it was hollow. "You were putting my parents down for supporting me, for being proud of me. You made their love sound like a failure." "That's not what I said." "That's exactly what you said, and you know what the worst part is?" He finally looked at me. "You don't even see it. You genuinely think you were just being intellectual, insightful. You can't see how cruel it was. Your family is too sensitive. I was just too sensitive. Deborah, you've been criticizing my family for 2 years. Little comments, little observations. I've tried to ignore it, tried to believe you didn't mean it. But tonight," he shook his head. My mom left the table. My mom, who has never walked away from a dinner in her life, left because you made her feel small, and you're sitting here defending it. We sat in silence for 5 minutes. I felt something trying to surface, some recognition that I'd gone too far, but I pushed it down. Stephanie had said families like his were enmeshed, that they couldn't handle normal observations because they'd never learned to self-reflect. This was their problem, not mine. Thomas started the car, drove home in silence. That night, he didn't come to bed at all, slept in his car in the parking lot. I know because I looked out the window at 3 in the morning and saw him there, seat reclined, staring at the ceiling. After that, something changed permanently. He stopped trying to include me in family events. When Sunday dinners came up, he'd say, "I'm going to my parents, you can come if you want." No longer we're going. No longer assumed. I didn't mind at first, more free time for me, more time with Stephanie, who kept validating my perspective. He's defensive because you're threatening his narrative. Healthy families can handle observations. The fact that they can't just proves your point. And then came the invitation. Thomas's parents' 40th wedding anniversary Christmas dinner. December 20th, 3 weeks before Christmas. Big celebration, family and close friends, at Leonard and Patricia's house. Thomas showed me the invitation his mother had sent, formal, printed. Patricia had spent money on these. There was a dress code, a menu, it mattered to them. "Will you come?" Thomas asked. His voice was careful, distant. "Of course, it's your parents' anniversary." He nodded but didn't look relieved, didn't look anything. "Please, Deb, please just let it be a nice night." What's that supposed to mean? It means what it means. I'd had a terrible week leading up to that dinner. Terrible month, really. I'd been passed over for a promotion at work. The position went to someone younger, less experienced, someone who hadn't put in the years I'd put in. I was bitter, angry, felt undervalued. Stephanie called me the morning of the dinner. "How are you feeling about tonight?" Dreading it. 3 hours of pretending everything's fine. "You know what the problem is. You've been too accommodating, too willing to pretend. Maybe it's time to stop protecting their feelings. Be honest. Sometimes people need to hear the truth." I remember that conversation so clearly. How reasonable she made it sound, how she framed honesty as bravery, pretending as cowardice. "You're probably right, I'm tired of walking on eggshells." Good, your truth matters too. We arrived at Patricia and Leonard's house at 6. The place was decorated beautifully, white lights everywhere. A real tree in the living room. Candles. The dining table was set for 12 with china I'd only seen once before at Jake's graduation. Patricia had cooked for days. Prime rib, roasted vegetables, homemade rolls, 3 different pies. Everyone was already there. Jake and Emma. Thomas's Aunt Carol and Uncle Vincent, 2 family friends I'd met a few times, everyone dressed up, everyone smiling. Patricia hugged Thomas tight when we walked in. "So glad you're here, sweetheart." She nodded at me, polite. No hug. That was new. She'd always hugged me before. Leonard pulled Thomas aside, showed him something in the garage, some tool he'd bought. They were out there for 15 minutes, and I could hear them laughing. That easy, comfortable laugh of people who genuinely enjoy each other. When we sat down for dinner, Thomas was at one end of the table between his mother and Aunt Carol. I was at the other end between Emma and one of the family friends. That was deliberate. Patricia's seating chart kept Thomas and me separated. Dinner started fine. Patricia said grace. Leonard made a short toast about 40 years of marriage. Everyone ate. The food was incredible. Patricia had outdone herself, and everyone kept saying so. Then Uncle Vincent started talking about memories, about Thomas as a kid. "Remember when you were 9 and decided to teach yourself piano? Sat at that thing for hours every day, drove us crazy." Aunt Carol laughed. Nobody asked him to. He just decided he wanted to learn, same with everything. Tennis, cooking, reading. Whatever interested him, he'd throw himself into completely. Leonard nodded. "That's why teaching fits him so well. He's always been like that, all in, all heart." Patricia smiled at Thomas. "You were such a determined little boy. Once you set your mind on something, nothing could stop you. Remember teaching yourself to tie your shoes. You were 3 years old, sitting on the floor for an hour, refusing help." Everyone was looking at Thomas. He was embarrassed but smiling. "I don't remember being that stubborn." "Oh, you were," Jake said. "Still are. In the best way, Emma added. The kids at your school are so lucky, you can tell they adore you. Vincent raised his glass. To Thomas, best damn teacher in the city, making his family proud every single day. Everyone clinked glasses, everyone was smiling, the room felt warm, full of love. Thomas looked happy for the first time in months, really, truly happy. He caught my eye across the table, smiled, hopeful. Wanting me to share this, to be part of it, and I felt nothing but irritation. Everyone was looking at him that way, like he was special. Like he'd done something extraordinary by being a teacher who cared. It felt excessive, performative, like they were all playing roles in some idealized family fantasy. The praise kept coming. Story after story, achievement after achievement. Patricia pulled out photos, baby Thomas, teenage Thomas, Thomas at his college graduation, everyone oohing and ahhing. I felt hot, my chest tight, not jealousy exactly, something uglier, something that whispered they're delusional. They've convinced themselves they're this perfect, supportive family. They can't see their own dysfunction, the enmeshment, the lack of boundaries, the way they'd rather celebrate than examine. And Stephanie's words from that morning, sometimes people need to hear the truth. What I said next, I can never unsay. Vincent was in the middle of another story. About some camping trip where Thomas had helped Leonard set up tents in the rain. That's family, Vincent said. That's what these two taught their boys. Show up, help out, take care of each other. Everyone nodded. Patricia was tearing up, happy tears, pride tears. I felt the words forming, felt them rising up my throat. Some part of me knew. Some deep, buried part recognized this as a cliff edge. But I was angry. At work. At feeling sidelined at this table. At 3 years of carefully watching everything I said. At Thomas for making me feel like the problem. I laughed. Not loud, just a small laugh, a dismissive sound. Everyone looked at me. I leaned forward and said, clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear, your family's dysfunction explains so much about you. The words hung in the air. Physical. Tangible. I watched them land like grenades at a birthday party. I kept going. All this praise, this unconditional support, it's kept you from developing any real self-awareness. You've never had to examine yourself because they've never challenged you. It's created this situation where you can't handle any criticism, where you think being nice is the same as being healthy. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Emma's fork was halfway to her mouth, frozen there. Jake's hand stopped mid-reach for his water glass. Vincent's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Aunt Carol's eyes went wide. Leonard stared at his plate like he was trying to memorize the pattern. Patricia looked at me, just looked. Her face didn't show anger, showed something worse. Disappointment, like I'd confirmed every fear she'd had about me. Like she'd been hoping she was wrong and just found out she wasn't. The silence lasted 12 seconds. I counted them later, lying in bed, replaying the moment over and over. 12 seconds of absolute stillness. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked. I could hear someone's dog barking 3 houses away. The heater clicked on. Then I looked at Thomas, his eyes first. Those brown eyes that used to light up when I walked in a room, that used to look at me in the morning before I was fully awake and make me feel like the most beautiful woman alive. They changed. I watched it happen in real time, frame by frame. First confusion, literal confusion, like he'd heard wrong. Like I must have said something else and he'd misunderstood. Then understanding. Oh, she said that. She really said that. Here, now, then pain, physical pain in his eyes, the kind you see in people who have been betrayed by someone they trusted, someone they loved, someone who was supposed to be on their side. Then nothing. Absolute nothing. Not anger, not rage, not tears, just empty, like someone had reached inside and removed something essential. His eyes went flat, dead. The eyes of someone looking at a stranger. His face changed too. The smile, the one that had been there 30 seconds ago, that rare, relaxed smile, disappeared. Not frowned, disappeared. His jaw was tight but not clenched. His mouth was a straight line. His whole face just smoothed out. Neutral. Careful. The face of someone who's just learned something crucial and is processing it. Those eyes that used to find me in a crowded room now looked through me. Not at me, through me. Like I wasn't there, or like I was there but didn't matter, which was worse. I saw the moment he decided, saw it clearly. The decision forming behind his eyes, the choice being made in real time. He was done. Completely done. Not angry done, not hurt done, just done, the way you're done with a book you've finished. You close it. Put it down. Move on. He didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't defend his family, didn't defend himself, didn't do anything I expected. He just stood up. Slowly, carefully, pushed his chair back. The wooden legs scraped against the floor. That sound, that horrible scraping sound, was the only noise in the room. He folded his napkin. That careful, precise fold he used for everything, placed it next to his plate. Gentle, respectful, he looked at his mother. "Thank you for dinner. Happy anniversary, I love you." His voice was quiet, steady. Empty, he looked at his father. "Dad, I love you." He looked at Jake. "Take care of them." Then he walked out, through the dining room, through the living room, out the front door. He didn't grab his coat. It was 38 degrees outside. He didn't grab his coat. The door closed behind him. Soft click, not a slam, not anything dramatic, just click. I sat there. Everyone sat there. Patricia's face was white, actually white. She pressed her napkin to her mouth. Leonard's hands were flat on the table. He was staring at the spot where Thomas had been sitting. Jake looked at me, really looked at me. "What is wrong with you?" Aunt Carol said. "Oh, Thomas, oh, my sweet boy." Vincent said to Patricia, I'm so sorry this happened at your celebration." Emma whispered to Jake, "Should we go after him?" Jake shook his head. "Give him space, give him a minute." Everyone was looking at me now, not Vincent or Carol or Emma, but Jake, Leonard, Patricia, looking at me with faces I'd never seen before. Not anger, worse than anger. Like I was something they needed to figure out how to remove, a problem to solve, a danger to protect against. I tried to laugh it off, tried to make it seem less serious than it was. That came out wrong. I just meant sometimes families can be too supportive and it affects. Patricia stood up. "Get out of my house." "Patricia, get out." Her voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard anyone's voice. "You don't get to do this, not here, not tonight, not ever. Get out." I looked around the table, looking for someone to defend me, to understand, to acknowledge that I'd made a valid point, even if poorly timed. No one looked at me. Jake was texting, probably Thomas. Leonard had his head in his hands. Carol and Vincent were talking quietly. Emma looked terrified. Patricia said again, quieter but harder, "Leave. Now, before I say things I'll regret." I stood up. My legs were shaking, not guilty shaking, defensive shaking. Angry shaking. How dare they make me the villain? I'd told the truth. They just couldn't handle it. I grabbed my purse, walked to the door, put on my coat, the whole time waiting for someone to stop me, to call me back, to say, "Wait, let's talk about this." Nobody did. Nobody even looked. I drove home. 32 minutes. The whole time my phone silent. No calls from Thomas. No texts. Nothing. I got home to our apartment that we'd lived in for 5 years. That had Thomas's books on the shelves and his coffee mug in the sink from that morning and his jacket on the hook by the door. I sat on the couch, waited. Surely he'd come home, surely we'd fight. Yell, scream, cry, work it out. That's what couples did after fights, even bad fights. He came home at 11:30. I heard his key in the lock, heard him walk in. I stood up, ready to talk, ready to argue, ready for anything except what happened. He walked past me, directly past me. Like I wasn't there, went to the bedroom, I followed him. He was packing, efficiently, methodically, clothes into a duffel bag, toiletries into a smaller bag, his work laptop, his favorite books. "Tom," he held up one hand. Don't say my name, don't apologize, don't explain. "We need to talk about this," he kept packing. "There's nothing to talk about." I said something inappropriate. "I know, I'm sorry, but we can." He stopped, looked at me with those dead eyes. "You humiliated me. You humiliated my family at their anniversary dinner. You've been doing it for years, but tonight you showed me exactly who you are, and I believe you. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. It wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. You chose to hurt people I love. On purpose. To make yourself feel superior. To prove some point that only matters to you. That's who you are, and I'm done. You're going to throw away 7 years over one comment." He laughed, that hollow laugh. "One comment. Deborah, you've made 1,000 comments. I've forgiven 1,000 comments. I've excused them, rationalized them, told myself you didn't mean it. that you just didn't understand. But tonight, I finally heard you. Really heard you. You meant it. You mean all of it. You think my family is dysfunctional. You think I'm damaged. You think you're better than us, and I'm done pretending you don't. He zipped his bag. I'm staying at Jake's. I'll come back for the rest of my things next week when you're at work. I'll pay rent through the end of the lease. After that, you're on your own. Tom, please. I loved you, he said, past tense. I loved you more than I've loved anyone. I would have done anything for you, and you took that love and weaponized it, used it to hurt the people who made me. You don't do that to someone you love. You just don't. He walked to the door, stopped, didn't turn around. My mom left the table tonight. Do you understand that? My mom, who prides herself on grace and hospitality, walked away from her own anniversary dinner. Because of you, because you made her feel like a failure, made her question 40 years of loving her son. That's what you did. He opened the door. Don't contact me, don't call, don't text. We're done. I'll have a lawyer contact you about the divorce. Divorce? Did you think I'd stay after this? Did you actually think I'd stay? He left. I heard his footsteps down the hall, heard the elevator, heard silence. I texted him that night, called 12 times. Every call went to voicemail. Every text showed as read but never answered. At 3 a.m, he finally responded. One text, stop, it's over, respect that. I didn't stop. For 2 weeks, I tried everything, showed up at Jake's apartment. Jake answered the door, physically blocked me from entering, said, he doesn't want to see you. Please respect his decision. Called his mother. She answered, said, you've done enough damage, and hung up. Sent flowers to his school. His principal called me, said Thomas had requested no contact, and asked me not to send anything else. The divorce papers arrived 6 weeks after the dinner. Delivered by courier. No-fault divorce. Division of assets. I signed them. What else could I do? 8 months after the dinner, I found out through Instagram. Of course it was Instagram. Thomas had posted a photo. Him and a woman. Her name was Sarah, pediatric nurse. Worked at the same children's hospital where he volunteered. They were at a coffee shop, both smiling, his arm around her. The caption, sometimes life surprises you in the best way. 9 months after that, I heard about the wedding from a former mutual friend. Small ceremony. His family, close friends, Sarah's family, people from school, people from the hospital. My sister went. Patricia and Leonard walked them both down the aisle together. The reception was at the same venue where Thomas and I had our wedding. He'd always loved that place. Said it was perfect. I wasn't invited, obviously. But the absence, the complete erasure of my existence from his life felt louder than any invitation denial. I looked at photos later. Someone posted them publicly. Thomas looked different, lighter, younger somehow. Sarah looked at him the way I used to look at him, before I started looking at him like a project to fix. I'm 36 now. Same job I hated then. Same apartment because I can't afford to move. No relationship. A few dates that went nowhere because I'm afraid to let anyone close enough to see who I really am. I lost Thomas, lost his family, who'd welcomed me despite my flaws until I pushed too far. Thomas is coaching Little League now. Posted photos last month. Him with a team of 8-year-olds, all wearing matching jerseys. Caption, best part of my week. Sarah was in the background pregnant. Their first child, due in 3 months. Here's what I learned too late. Love isn't about honesty. It's about kindness. It's about protecting the people you love, not exposing them. It's about building them up, not tearing them down. It's about recognizing that being right matters less than being loving. I was honest. I was perceptive. I saw his family's flaws clearly, and I was so busy being right that I forgot to be kind. Forgot that the man I married had been shaped by those people. That loving him meant honoring where he came from. That my job wasn't to fix him or enlighten him, just to love him. I didn't just lose Thomas. I lost the person I could have been if I'd learned this lesson before it was too late. I lost the life we could have built. I lost his Sunday dinners and his mother's hugs and his father's pride and his brother's terrible jokes. I lost the family I married into. The family that would have been there for me, protected me, loved me, if only I'd done the same for them. It's been 22 months. Thomas lives 4 miles away, might as well be a different planet. He's building a life I'll never see. Having a child I'll never meet. Creating a family with someone who knows how to love him. And I'm here. With a coffee mug I can't throw away and memories of post-it notes I wish I'd kept. typing his name into Instagram sometimes just to see proof he's happy. That someone loved him right. He deserved better than me. I know that now. I just wish I'd known it then.